Tehran is drowning in sewage water, non-stop explosion in Khamenei's stronghold, car bombs exploded suddenly in many locations around Tehran, the capital of Iran, and dozens of nuclear scientists were eliminated, and the Revolutionary Guard stronghold, or what is left of it, is flooded with sewage water. Netanyahu, we eliminated the head of the intelligence and his deputy in Tehran. And meanwhile, in Israel, there are many dead from the missile strikes since the start of the operation. In last night's attacks, 10 people were killed. Amongst the dead are an 80-year-old woman, a 60-year-old woman, two women in their 40s, two teenage girls, a boy about 10, and a girl about 8. I'm Yair Pinto, and I bring you Boots on the Ground, the news report about what you need to know that's happening in Israel. Today, I'm here with our senior correspondent, Mati Shoshani, to bring you all the truth about what is happening in this region. This is the end of day 3 of the direct war between Israel and Iran and Operation Am Kelavi. Mati, we will already dive in together into the details, but let's quickly go over the headlines. Is this the beginning of the end? Is Iran taking a hard blow from Israel? Let's go to reports from Iran. Cars exploded in Tehran unexpectedly, and at the same time, more nuclear scientists were eliminated. And on the streets of Tehran, several cars exploded, and according to the report, more nuclear scientists were eliminated. Earlier, Israeli officials warned following the missile fire towards Israel that buildings are going to fall in Tehran. Iran is on its knees, and Tehran begs for a ceasefire with Israel following painful strikes and severe damage to critical infrastructure across the country. Israel made history, an unprecedented Air Force event in Iran. At a distance of more than 2,000 kilometers from the Israeli territory, the Air Force carried out a pinpoint strike on an Iranian tanker aircraft. The strike was carried out near the city considered the holiest in Iran. And in addition, a significant strike in the heart of Tehran. The head of the Revolutionary Guard's intelligence and his deputy were eliminated. And on top of all of that, reports in Iran just now call of explosions in the city of Sananjada near the Iraqi border. According to the reports in Iran, explosions are heard in the city of Sananjad in northwestern Iran near the border with Iraq. The IDF announced moments ago that fighter jets struck missile production sites, radar, and launchers in Tehran. The Air Force struck and destroyed sites for surface-to-surface missile production, radar sites, and surface-to-air missile launchers in Tehran. Iran returns fires in waves towards Israel. Missiles hit buildings in northern and southern Israel in recent hours in salvo from Iran. 7 wounded were evacuated to the Rambam hospital in Haifa, in Israel, as a result of the direct hit in that city. And the energy market goes into a spin. The price of a barrel of oil soars, and this is only the beginning. Oil prices last weekend showed the most extreme volatility since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. And earlier, a security source confirmed we struck an oil facility near Tehran. The missiles that Iran has not yet pulled out and the dependence on the United States to destroy the nuclear program, the next stage of this war, Israel still hopes that the bunker penetrator bombs that only the Americans have will be the finishing kick and will complete the historic move of destroying the nuclear project. One dramatic achievement is complete, opening Iran's skies to a permanent Israeli presence. Mati Shoshani will brief us on all the details about what Trump said, and that in an interview with ABC, the United States president did not rule out the possibility of throwing his army into this campaign and added that he's open to Putin mediating between Israel and Iran. Much lies ahead, so let's dive into details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel. And today is day 620 of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in Yemen, the militias in Iraq, and the terror organizations in Judea and Samaria. All of them are taking their orders from Iran's Revolutionary Guards, which is the head of the axis of evil in the Middle East. And guys, here, Mati Shoshani and myself bring you live all the information that is coming out of Israel during this war. But 1 second before we start, I want to call on you to help us share the truth and help us continue to spread it. So first thing, to share the truth, please hit the subscribe button here on YouTube so you never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. And second of all, if you want to help us create more videos like this one, please consider making a donation to tbnisrael.com/give. You can see the link here in the screen below. And you can also hit the donate button on YouTube to help us reach more people with what is happening in Israel so that you'll pray for the peace of Jerusalem, but in a way that you know how to do because you know what's happening here. So, Mati, are you with me now? How was the last 24 hours for you? Mati Shoshani, is Mati with me now? I don't think Mati already is with me. Mati has spent already 3 days in IDF reserves in Judea and Samaria, preparing for a possible infiltration by terrorists associated with Iran. And the first few days of getting into a new area, you need to learn the area, you need to train, you need to make sure that your weapons and your gear is up to date. So I guess he will join us a bit later. But Mati, is that you? I see you.
I hope I'm actually here, Yael.
Yes, you are. You look a bit dark, but I can see you. It's good. It's
Sorry.
good to have you here, Mati.
I'm apologizing. This isn't up to our usual level. I just came straight to do this live, and I'm with very little resources here, as you know. But
Yes,
it's
yes.
good to be with you.
Oh, I appreciate it, Mati. So what can you tell me, first of all, about how you are doing? How is the IDF doing during these days? And then we'll dive into the details about the last hours and the attacks from Iran against Israel just now.
Well, I want to tell you, I just spent a very, very long day. What is it? It's after midnight right now. A very, very long day training and prepping with several other units in Judea and Samaria. And I want to tell you, the Israeli army is stronger now than it's, I think, ever been in this region. Highly prepared, highly motivated, highly mobilized to really, prepare for any eventuality that's coming our way. I spent a lot of time in briefing in the last couple of days. Um, and I want to tell you, the IDF that we're encountering today is very, very different than the IDF of October 7th, 2023. It is highly motivated. It is enormous in numbers. It's much better equipped, much better trained than it was previously. And many of the lessons have been learned since then. A lot of the things we've been talking about, obviously, I can't repeat on camera. But I think when we're looking at what we've seen in Iran in recent days, when we've seen the victories and the success of the Israeli army, to think that we're an army that's fighting right now in multiple fronts. I'm in Judea and Samaria. We have people in Gaza. We have people, in countless places around the world. Who can count how many fronts we're fighting right now? It's really, really impressive to see how successful it's been. Highly impressive. And the readiness level that we're experiencing right now is amazing. And I want to say this also, the motivation level that we're experiencing is very, very high. Support from the civilian population is, as usual, incredible, especially in Judea and Samaria. But the military is ready. The military is, I'm right now in an area where many of the commanders that I'm working with are people we've now worked with multiple times in the last 18 months. So the units are high in training, high in expertise. It's a well-oiled machine and a big machine at this point.
Mhm. Well, thank you, Mati. So before we dive into more topics, I want to get into all the details, boots on the ground style, and then I'll get back to Mati Shoshani. So, the Iranian news agency IRNA reported that 5 car bombs exploded across Tehran after an Israeli wave of airstrikes across the Islamic Republic. So, according to reports in Iran, in the explosions, more nuclear scientists were eliminated, and footage published on the social media networks showed smoke plumes across Iran's capital. And amidst the car bomb explosions and the continued Air Force strikes in Tehran, many residents were documented leaving the city. Iran's traffic police chief testified to a surge in the number of vehicles streaming out of the capital at each exit from the city, and the New York Times reported long lines at gas stations. And meanwhile, an eyewitness to the strikes in Tehran told Reuters that indeed several areas were struck simultaneously and called on Iran's supreme leader. They just struck right now, Khamenei, and the war. These are the calls of some Iranian people. And amidst the car bomb explosions, the continued Air Force strikes in Tehran, many residents were documented leaving the city. And Iran's traffic police chief testified to a surge of number of vehicles. Guys, this is something crazy. It's not normal to hear these reports from a people that was under this evil regime for so long, because this regime was oppressing the Iranian people, and now they feel that they have an option to rebel, even if just a little bit. Okay, so let's pray for these people. So we have eyewitnesses that watched the strikes in Tehran that told Reuters that indeed several areas were struck simultaneously, and called an Iran supreme leader. They just said to him to end the war. This is different sources that reporting the same thing. The people of Iran are calling on the supreme leader to end the war. And the Air Force, today, the Israeli Air Force struck an Iranian tanker aircraft at a distance of about 2,300 kilometers. The strike was carried out at Mashhad Airport in eastern Iran. This is the farthest strike ever by Israel. Mashhad is considered Iran's most important city and a Shiite stronghold. Thus, the IDF delivered Iran a double and triple message. Do not put your old plans up against the Air Force aircrafts, for their fate will be like that of the tanker aircraft. The additional message is that Israel will hit every strategic Iranian weapon, from missiles to tanker planes. And third is that Israel made it clear that it can fly in daylight to any point in Iran and hit any target. So chaos in Iran rose to a new stage today, following the Air Force strikes waves that were aimed at various targets in Tehran, such as the Revolutionary Guards headquarters, the oil ministry buildings, and additional military facilities, as well as high-rise buildings. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed in an interview with Fox News that the strike eliminated Mohammad Khazemi, the head of the intelligence branch, and his deputy, Hassan Muhakkak. Earlier in the Air Force struck, it hit dozens of targets simultaneously in Iran's capital. And amongst these targets were defense systems, buildings linked to the Revolutionary Guards, in which apparently were senior figures present at that location, and weapons, mainly ballistic missile sites. And according to a report on the news site associated with the Iranian opposition, Iran International, Khazami and his deputy were trapped under the rubble after the Israeli strike on the organization's building in the Iranian capital. Their condition is not known at this moment, and the report said before Netanyahu's interview, in which he confirmed that they were eliminated. Meanwhile, Reuters reports that in the past 2 days, the United States president vetoed an Israeli plan to assassinate Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. The strike in Mashhad is the farthest since the start of the operation and amongst the farthest ever in the history of the Air Force. Yemen is about 1,900 to 2,000 kilometers from Eilat, which is the southernmost city in Israel, an Operation Wooden Leg, in which the Air Force struck Palestinian Liberation Organization's headquarters in Tunisia in the 1985, was about 2,300 kilometers from the Israeli territory. So today's strike required in-flight refueling, but the fact that the Air Force created a secure corridor up to Tehran allows the Air Force to fly high with many munitions and almost no need for aerial refueling. Israeli sources said that in response to the ballistic missile attacks from Iran, which caused the deaths of more than 10 people and led to hundreds more that were wounded, buildings are going to fall in Tehran. And a senior cabinet source added Iran will intensify the attacks against civilians in Israel because it thinks that the home front is weak and this will break us. But they are greatly mistaken. We will defeat them. A senior security source delivered a message to Tehran. We still have many surprises. There is great determination in Israel. There is no real pressure on Israel to stop. They want us to finish it. Behind the scenes, there is a start of mediation arrangements, but there is not yet a concrete ceasefire proposal. And I will just report, to top it off, that floods of sewage in Tehran follow sudden infrastructure damage. In the Iranian media, they accused the Mossad agents sabotaged a sewage pipes. Mati, what do you think about all of this situation? What do you say about the sequence of the strikes? And what is Israel focusing on right now?
One, I'm impressed. Let's start with that. And I think we all should be impressed. Look, what's been going on in Iran is amazing. We're living in history-making days and possibly weeks. And what the Israeli Air Force has done in Iran is nothing short of amazing. And I need to contextualize this for people. For years now, people have thought that Iran is untouchable, that their ring of fire doctrine, around Israel, the Hezbollah, their proxies, their missiles, their strategic missiles, their anti-aircraft missiles, it's enough to stop anyone. And even the great U.S. and its allies were wondering, well, can we attack? What will be the cost of the attack? What will be the casualty toll from this attack? And meanwhile, on day 1.5 of Israel's attack in Iran, Israeli planes are literally loitering in the skies of Tehran. They're able to run missions where they're playing pickup on various targets for multiple hours over the capital of the Iranian people. And then we know that Israel has been very creative, and by very I mean historically, uniquely, impressively creative in facilitating some incredible solutions. Cyber attacks, hiding drones within the deserts of Iran, using people from within the Iranian society to attack, and probably countless other crafty, clever, and unique ideas to obtain the targets, to obtain the intelligence, and to get on their case. And the sewage might be related to Israel, it might not be related to Israel, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I mean, today's cyber warfare often goes after infrastructure. Military facilities are usually well guarded. It's very expensive systems, so people spend a lot of money protecting them. But when it comes to civilian infrastructure, I mean, think about recent attacks that have taken place in North America, recent attacks that have taken place in Europe. It's not that hard for a substantial hacker group, and Israel has one, the Iranians do too, but so does North Korea, to really, hack a grid, hack a plant, hack a factory. Israel's done this multiple times to the Iranians. Look back to the history of the Iranian nuclear program. You have the Stuxnet worm, which was essentially a computer malware that was installed on multiple hardware pieces that essentially brought down many components of their nuclear program. That was a combined effort of Israel, the US, and I believe the UK, but there are many of these operations. And I think the whole point here, we talked about this in last night's live, is that we're not just fighting a war that is a zero-sum game. It's not will we destroy Iran. We're not going to destroy Iran. The goal here is multiple things: stop their nuclear program, but also project power, project the perception of bringing down their regime. And that's exactly what's going to happen. By the way, I just got a news flash that I think a strike is coming our way. Did you get that same
Yeah,
strike,
me too.
Yair?
Yeah,
So
just got it now.
let's run this till at till we have the time. Anyway,
Well,
so
it's like half an hour. They gave us like
yeah,
half an hour
it might be
before the missile comes.
it might be a while. Anyway, so you look at that, and you know, the amount of craftiness and the amount of creativity that's gone into it, truly impressive, truly amazing. And I want to say this, and we've said this multiple times: the Iranians are not a weak entity. They're a powerful
No.
country. They've spent a lot of money, a lot of time on building up this infrastructure, and we've seen the results of it. The last couple of days have been painful for the people of Israel. We've had
Hmm.
casualties. We've had, buildings struck down. We've had, we're talking substantial damage, not to the degree Iran was hoping for, nowhere near it, not near in the percentage of success, but still a substantial amount of damage that was caused to buildings in Israel, and it hurts. But at the same time, we understand. I think we, the Israeli people, we know we're fighting a war of lack of choice, as we like to say in Israel. This is something we've been forced into, and if it doesn't happen now, it would have happened in the future. And right now, we're in a place where there was no choice. Iran pushed us to the wall. They said,
Hmm.
we're going for a bomb unless you stop us. So we have to stop them. That's why we're fighting this war in self
Yeah.
defense, in self preservation, in a deep desire to survive and outlive this dictatorial regime in Iran. That's why we're fighting this war. And so far, we've been unbelievably successful. We've been abundantly blessed and protected by God, I think, in this operation, in
Hmm.
preventing any of the missiles hitting our airplanes, most of the missiles not making it into Israel. Very impressive so far.
Yeah, definitely. And Mati, just in case there is a sirens alarm, we will go to the bomb shelter and we will keep the video live going, so you guys back at home can actually see the missiles. And we really encourage you guys to also pray for us during that moment that all these missiles will be intercepted. Looks like we have another maybe 20 minutes before the sirens will start sounding, either in my location or at Mati's location. And but until then, I want to go to another update of what's happening in the last 24 hours in Israel. And in the meantime, I want to tell you that we are bringing you daily updates from Israel. Our channel is called TBN Israel. And for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, it really helps us if you just hit the subscribe button and help us reach more people with what's happening in Israel. Okay, so Israel had a very, very difficult 24 hours. And not long ago, a salvo was launched towards us. I was in the bomb shelter just 2 hours ago, and missiles hit buildings in the north and in the south in that salvo of rockets from Iran. 8 people were lightly wounded. This is after the deadly salvo that the previous night was carried out by Iran against us, where 3 people were unaccounted for in Bat Yam, which is an Israeli city. In all, about 200 wounded were reported in the Dan region, which is central Israel, and Shfela, which is near the sea, and at least 6 of them were in serious condition. So hours earlier, a missile hit directly in a house in the Tamra in the north, which is an Arab Israeli community, and 4 female members of one family were killed, and 20 others were lightly wounded. Mati, can you explain why until today the missiles of the Houthis or of Hezbollah did not cause such damage, and now we are seeing missiles with clearly different destructive power? I mean, Iran launched missiles at us before, already twice in the past 12 months, and in the previous strikes, only one missile landed in the desert of Israel. Now it seems like every salvo has direct hits. What changed?
A lot has changed. One, Iran has different types of missiles, and that's important to note. Two, these systems are not plug-and-play systems. There's a fine-tuning element to them, and there's a learning curve to them. Look at the Israeli Iron Dome that is, renowned around the world for being accurate and being effective. It has close to 100% efficacy right now in the right conditions, which is something unheard of in missile defense systems, and definitely short range with such a small warning time. It wasn't anywhere near that when the system was launched. There's a learning curve on the algorithms behind the radar systems. There's a learning curve on the machine learning and the optical processing when it comes to the optical and electronic processing on the missile heads themselves, on the guidance systems, on interpreting conditions that have to do with weather, precipitation, wind. It's countless other factors that go into that. And Iran has been learning. It's been studying our systems. This isn't, by the way, the first time they've been successful. Even early on in the war, they were able to bring in, drones, figuring out cracks in our defenses. Look, we're not impervious to attacks. We try really, really hard, and our Air Force has done really well so far, but it's not a perfect system. And I'd say there's another element here. Iran is an enormous country. They're a country close to 90 million people, compared to Israel's, let's say, 8 point something million people in the state of in the state of Israel, depending on how you count with the Palestinian population, etc. We're a much smaller country. They've spent an enormous amount of money and have received also a lot of help from North Korea, help from other countries, and really in building up their arsenal of missiles. At the same time, they've fired many missiles. Day one, I think there were over 250, missiles total, multiple very large groups of missiles coming together. And I think part of this really is that when you look at this, and I know it's weird to say this, the weapons fighting against each other, the Iranian system and the Israeli system, we've had the first row seat to these shows for multiple days now, looking up to the sky, really seeing them. These systems are flying at enormous speeds. They're traveling from within the atmosphere, out of the atmosphere, and then back down into the atmosphere. And when they're coming in at speed, incredible speed, actually. And I'm saying this as a layman, looking at this, the fact that we've been able to intercept the vast majority of them is unbelievable to me. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. And the fact
Yeah.
that some of them got through, it was expected. It's not a surprise, by the way. The Israeli government warned the Israeli people, Prime Minister Netanyahu, the Minister of Defense, several other government ministers and spokespeople have warned the people that this is going to be painful and it's going to be longer than we anticipate. And this isn't just another Hamas or possibly even another Hezbollah. And I want to remind you, Yair, and I think many of our viewers might have forgotten this, that, a year and a half ago, Israel expected that when we launched an attack against Hezbollah, we'd have tens of thousands of casualties in Israeli society. We were
Yeah.
expecting to have city blocks wiped out by Hezbollah rockets. That was the expectation. We said that when we would attack Iran, it would bring to a stop, which it still could, by the way, the economy of the Middle East, specifically as it relates to maritime trade. We talked
Hmm.
about them bringing down, again, substantial numbers of buildings within Israel, and they've fired
Hmm.
hundreds of rockets at us. And many of these rockets, it's hard to imagine how big these things are. They're traveling at enormous speeds and they're the size of a school bus. This is how big
Yeah.
this is. And Israel's intercepted most of them outside of the atmosphere and then once again broken down the pieces before they hit the ground within Israel and done so repeatedly at a very, very high level of accuracy. So I
Yeah,
think,
definitely, Marty.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, looking at
This
it
is
negatively
also,
is easy, yeah, but it's amazing. It's impressive.
yeah. Also, Marty, I think it's important to share with our viewers that Israel is basically smaller than Iran by 63 times, meaning Iran is a huge country with
Yeah,
100 million people. People keep saying this is the time for Israel to destroy Iran. No, Israel cannot destroy Iran. Israel cannot win in this war. This is an operation with two specific goals that Israel have agreed on. One of them is to disrupt the nuclear program, which is what Israel is doing, which is also very hard because they spread out this
yeah,
program underground throughout this entire huge country. And we need very specific bunker buster bombs in order to penetrate the underground facilities of the nuclear program of Iran, at least all of them. That's one objective, disrupt the nuclear program of Iran. The second objective is to disrupt and destroy the rocket arsenal and the rocket program, especially the ballistic rockets that are capable of carrying a nuclear payload that Iran was working on. So disrupt, first of all, the weapon and disrupt the means of transporting this weapon. These are two existential threats to the state of Israel, and that's what Israel set to do in Iran. At the moment,
Yes.
there's no objective of toppling the Ayatollah regime and no objective of conquering Iran or taking over this country, which is unrealistic. Okay, guys? But in the meantime, unite in prayer, because this is a situation that involves all of us. This can escalate into a larger war than just Israel and Iran. And we need your help. We need your help in spreading the truth. We need your help in clicking the subscribe buttons to help us reach more people of what's happening on the ground in this conflict. And so also for you not to miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. And guys, just now a report has come from the Iranian news agency Fars that an Israeli UAV struck the Tehran police building and that a number of policemen were wounded. And at the same time, the Lebanese network El Mayadin reported explosions in Tabriz. And in addition, two sources told Reuters that at least 14 nuclear scientists were eliminated in Israeli strikes. And according to the sources, the scientists were also killed in car bomb explosions. Is this another Mossad thing? Let us know in the comments, guys. And at this very moment, I'm being told that the Air Force, the fighter jets, have struck and destroyed surface-to-surface missile production sites, radar sites, and surface-to-air missile launchers in Tehran, the capital of Iran. And United States President Donald Trump stated this evening that Washington might intervene in the confrontation between Israel and Iran, as Israel hopes the United States will join the efforts to drop its game-changing weapons to wipe out the Islamic Republic's main nuclear sites. In an interview with ABC, Trump said again that for now, the United States is not involved in the clash, but added that there is a possibility we will intervene. He also said he's open to the idea that Russian President Vladimir Putin, Tehran's ally, will mediate between the two sides. He is ready. And this is a quote from Trump. He said, he is ready. He called me and talked to me about it. We had a long talk about it. Trump's ABC comments came shortly after a post on his Truth social media account in which he wrote that peace between Israel and Iran is coming soon and that many talks and meetings are taking place now without deliberating any further. He posted this minutes after Iran's salvos of missiles at Israel, while the IDF continues to strike across Tehran and destroy their facilities, their military installations. So Iran and Israel need to make a deal, and they will make a deal, just as I made India and Pakistan do, using United States trade to bring reason, cohesion, and sanity to talks with two great leaders who quickly decided and stopped. This is according to Donald Trump, the President of the United States. He said he had also prevented war between Serbia and Kosovo, and that the peace now prevailing, he claimed, between Egypt and Ethiopia over the Nile Dam was thanks to his intervention. Similarly, we will soon have peace, all capital, between Israel and Iran. Trump wrote, many talks and meetings are taking place now. I do a lot and I never get credit for anything, but that's okay. The people understand. Will make the Middle East great again. He wrote the word peace in capitals for emphasis in his post. So he may have meant a ceasefire, though in the past he spoke of wanting hardly realistic anytime soon to bring Iran into the Abraham Accords. So now we hand the mic over to Mati Shoshani. And Mati, can you tell us what Trump is saying here in this situation. Can you give us more detail on the current situation, and will America join the party?
Yeah. Well, hold on just a second, Yael. Just a second. Sorry.
Yes,
So
Marty?
I'm yeah. One of my colleagues is yelling something in the background. So anyway, yes, the U.S. is playing a very interesting game here, and this is an imagination. We know at this point, without a shadow of doubt, that when this plays out, we're going to be aware of a story that no one saw coming. We're going to see the fact that the U.S. was involved behind the scenes with what's taking place here in this region. I believe both in the planning and, well, I don't know about the execution, but definitely some of the logistical support, probably the intelligence support of it. And more than that, I want to remind everyone that there's a bigger game at play here than this day's and yesterday's attack. We're at the end of multiple months of negotiation, multiple months of incredible international pressure and military pressure leading up to this moment by the US and by other countries. And what we're seeing here is yes, Israel is the one that took the action. Israel is the one that really hit the nail on the head when it comes to the Iranian question, the Iranian nuclear problem. But there's a whole lot of diplomacy and a whole lot of military action that was leading to this very moment. And I can say this, with full confidence, if it wasn't for the intervention of the US and multiple other countries, the UK included, by the way, and several international agencies, the Iranians would have already had a bomb a long time ago. With Israel's desire, or without it, they would have had the ability to push very, very hard. It's been a group effort reaching this point and preventing them from having one so far. And again, Israel is the one that took the action right now. Uh, I think this is very tied into, and what you're asking is tied into the day after. And the day after is in 2 days and 3 days and 5 days and 15 days, when this wave of strikes that Israel is carrying out in Iran ends, there needs to be a diplomatic solution. And the diplomatic solution is going to tie in other countries, tie in the US, tie in several European countries, probably tying in some Gulf countries too, to barter a treaty between Israel and, well, the Iranians, believe it or not. And in this
We
agreement,
had
we're going
we
to
had
say,
it in the past, Marty.
yeah, yeah.
We can have
Well,
it again.
I don't know if it's going to be on such friendly terms as it once was back in the 70s, at least not for a while. But what's going to happen is Israel's going to say, we're going to hold off on attacking you for days, months, maybe a year. And the Iranians are going to say, we promise that for the foreseeable future, we're not enriching any uranium. We're not rebuilding any of the centrifuges that you've been bombing at this point. And at that point, you can't finish this alone. You need the help of other countries. You need the U.S. to get involved. You need probably the Saudis to get involved. You need money from other countries, and you need partnership from other countries in solidifying the deal. And I think a lot of people that have had criticism for the fact that Israel is still fighting this war on its own, and I think that criticism is justifiable. Israel is fighting a war for the world. This isn't just about us. We're the first ones with an existential threat because of the Iranian bomb, but we wouldn't be the only ones on that list. Once they would have a bomb, once they would have reached that point, they would have attacked others. They would have attacked the Saudis. They would have threatened other countries in the region and done so repeatedly because no one would have been able to touch them because they have a nuclear bomb. We're really
Do you
taking
think,
yeah,
What do
go
you
ahead.
think that the United States will drop their B-52 bombers and their super bunker buster bombs to help us destroy the nuclear installations?
I was hoping so. It doesn't seem that they're going to do that. That's
You
the
don't think
interesting
so?
thing.
Okay.
Look at we're a day, 2.5 of this. I don't know how we're counting this because it's all in the night. But let's say we're many many hours into this strike. The U.S. has assets in this region that far surpass Israel's. Let's be honest here. And if they wanted to join in the bombing, they could have done it 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours into the initial attack, and they haven't done so yet. And that begs the question of why. And the why is they've been supportive of Israel. They've supplied much of the munitions that we're using to attack them right now, but they haven't
Mhm.
actively been fighting, to our knowledge. I think they've been playing defense on behalf of Israel in some of the intercepts. But when it comes to actually striking in Iran, I think they've left the stage for us. And I, I don't know if it's fully understandable to me, but I can imagine that there are quite a few politicians in the U.S. government that look at this and say, "Why do we need to get our hands dirty with this? Let Israel fight its fight. We've done a lot to support them. and on the day after, we can come in and help, be the ones to bring in a new age of stability and prosperity in this region. And they really intend to do so. I think President Trump and many in the U.S. administration are genuine
Mhm.
when they say they truly support Israel, and they're genuine in their statements of wanting to rebuild the power structure in this region to not be led by the Iranians and be led by a more virtuous alliance and treaty, possibly another wave of Abraham Accords with the
Mhm.
Saudis. That's something that can happen. I've heard from a lot of friends, and I've seen a lot of people in the U.S. Challenge the question of why we're doing this alone. Why is Israel not being actively supported on a military level by the U.S.? And I'm interested to hear what President Trump has to say about this. Yes, diplomacy is good. Yes, international pressure is good. Yes, having a pat on the back and a tailwind is wonderful, and it would have been very, very hard without the U.S. support, definitely over recent decades to get to this point. But still, we're fighting this alone. Still, we're the
Mhm.
ones attacking in Iran, and it's expensive. It is a expensive in a man hours, expensive in a cash perspective, combat to be fighting, and so be it. Like I was texting with a friend earlier today, an American friend, and I said, we've heard Prime Minister Netanyahu, excuse me, our Minister of Defense, both Gallant and now Katz, after him, said very clearly, look, we're not going to go back to a place where Israel relies on other countries to fight its wars and to protect its borders. Not on the UN, not on UNRWA, not on any peacekeeper agency, one acronym or another, and not on another country. We're going to be the ones
Mhm.
fighting our wars. We're going to be the ones safeguarding our borders. And if we need to take chunks out of other people's land, and the last couple of days, if we need to, eliminate the Iranian air defenses and absolutely, dominate the airspace of Iran for, multiple days at this point, then so be it. And this has been done, and
Yeah.
I think it's easily lost the fact that it's done at a great risk. Uh, by taking this step, the Israeli leadership took a very, very bold statement, knowing full well that we might see images of jets never coming back to Israel, pilots taken into Iranian captivity. That is a possibility. Knowing full well that there could be buildings struck and civilians killed, which has happened to a certain degree, well, not a great degree, but it's happened. It's a great risk that was taken, thinking about the fact that now is the time to pay the price for this versus in the future. That whatever costs we pay would be lower now than any costs we would pay in the future. And I
Okay.
think I share that sentiment, as do many others in Israel.
Mati, I'm just receiving updates here from Tomer, our director, that at the moment there is a multiple launch of missiles from Yemen and from Iran underway here to Israel. So if we will hear any sirens soon, it will be because they are coordinating a missile strike between the Houthis in Yemen and Iran to launch an attack against us now.
Well,
Sounds very, looks
skies are
very,
clear. Skies are clear where I'm standing right now. So
yeah, me too. But as we said, these missiles are very, very fast, and we'll see what happens with that. But definitely, Mati, this is a historic moment, and I don't know, it's a reality that we live in now, and I really hope that the United States will join us. I mean, I rather fight this war side by side with the best army in the world and our biggest ally than to do it alone. It will also be a lot faster for us here in Israel to complete our objectives with the United States by our sides. But if they're not with us, we can still carry to do this war on our own at this moment, as long as we have the support from our allies to intercept all these missiles. So, Mati, thank you
look, I
so
can
much.
can
What?
can I make a historical comment quickly? I think it's
Yeah.
interesting. I'm running through my head as you said that when you look at U.S. Foreign policy over the last 100 years or so, they go back and forth between being dragged into wars that they were trying to avoid and moving too quickly with wars that they shouldn't have gone into or shouldn't have gone into in such speed. It took a lot to pull them into World War One. Took a lot to pull them into World War Two. But then some other wars, they should have, possibly waited and planned out things a little more before going into. And
Mhm.
I think in this case, you probably have those two forces playing the same game. Hold on, you don't know where this is going. You want to choose your battles. You want to think about how you go approach this entire thing. And probably people on the other side saying, go straight in. But what a legacy that would be for President Trump and for the current, Republican leadership of the U.S.
Administration. Yeah.
Yeah, to be part of the bringing down the most evil government in multiple lifetimes. I mean, when in history, again, since the Nazi regime, when have you had a government that it was so openly demonic and diabolical in its intentions, so clear about their desire to bring death to people around the world, to destroy the way of life of other people? I mean, these people go out of their way to bring destruction. What a legacy it would be if they would be part of bringing that down. An amazing
Yeah,
legacy.
yeah, definitely, Mati. I agree completely, and let's see what happens. I mean, this is historic. These are historic times for sure. And guys, I want to take you into the step-by-step operations of the Israeli Air Force in Iran. The Israeli Air Force is now carrying out digging strikes, or you can call them basically giant bombs against the Iranian installations. So, what is certain now is that the Air Force needs a fair amount of time to actually peel on its own the layers of defenses in Iran, both the natural and the armed defenses that protect the nuclear facilities that are scattered across Iran, which is 80 times larger than Israel. Okay, Iran is 80 times larger than Israel. Only in this way can it inflict real damage on Iran's nuclear program, which is digged underground. So that's why we are talking about the American Buster bombs, unique of their kind in the world and amongst the few that exist on this globe, and they can shorten this mission and complete it. And if United States President Donald Trump gives the green light alongside the historic and the powerful opening blow that the Air Force dealt to the sites in Iran's nuclear project, to the ballistic missile facilities, and to the senior security leaders who were eliminated within minutes, Israel hopes for a final and crushing destruction of the various nuclear facilities scattered in different places throughout the vast Islamic Republic. So far, according to the IDF, the Natanz nuclear site has been severely damaged and the strike on the Isfahan site has begun, but the Iranians made sure to spread the many eggs, and by eggs I mean nuclear facilities, into a large numbers of baskets and hide them, including inside the capital, Tehran itself. Alongside the historic and the powerful opening blow that the Air Force dealt to the sites in Iran's nuclear project, and also, again, to the ballistic facilities and to the senior security leaders who were eliminated in minutes. So Israel now wants to create the final scenario together with the United States of America. So far, according to the IDF, the Natanz site has been severely damaged. Okay, this is one site out of multiple sites in Iran. The Isfahan site has begun to be hit by Israel, and we have more areas all across Tehran that needs to be attacked. And according to Israeli figures, some officials and others have held key positions in the field for years in the Air Force and in the Israeli intelligence. A true destruction of Iran's nuclear program requires dealing with all the facilities headed by Fordo. So, this can be done in various ways. Foremost, with assistance from the United States and its B 2 and B 52 bombers, and with giant bombs that Israel does not possess at this moment. If the United States does not provide this finishing leg, Israel hopes that the aggregate will suffice to delay the nuclear project by a few years or bring Iran to agree to a better nuclear deal. So the aggregate is heavy damage to Iran's ballistic missile capability, the elimination of the security leadership, crippling Iran's air defense array, causing Israeli fighter pilots to fly over Tehran as if they were circling over Jabalia in the Gaza Strip, and a credible threat to the decapitation of the ruling leadership, the Ayatollah regime, as well, and hit on national infrastructure sites such as oil depots, which we also see that happened. So it appears that the Air Force is operating according to an orderly and effective plan against the nuclear facilities, which are the core of the mission that it received. So repeated strike and sorties have already been carried out to deepen the achievements at the facilities like Natanz, but in vast Iran, there are between 5,000 and 10,000 relevant targets to attack in different realms, such as it is dense air defensive array, ballistic missiles, headquarters, and command and control capabilities. So it will take some time to significantly damage the nuclear facilities by way of peeling, which is what Israel can do at this moment. And even then, the result will not necessarily be optimal. Yet, what could greatly increase the chances of successful results in this strike of the Israeli only is deep intelligence. So, if the IDF knows exactly where all the nuclear facilities are that enjoy natural shielding hundreds of meters thick underground, Iran's weapons arsenal is also being worn down day by day now because of Iran's own use of it against Israel and because of the IDF strikes against the weapons arsenal. So, as of this moment, the Iranians have launched about 300 ballistic missiles in roughly 7 salvos during the first 2 days of this war. But according to estimates, they have still not used 2 central long-range weapons. These are the heaviest missiles in Iran's possessions, which carry a ton or more of explosives in the warheads, and the fast cruise missiles that are very difficult to detect, classify, and also to intercept. So, experts assess that observers following the confrontations between the two countries say that according to those experts, Iran may be saving these missiles for the continuation of the campaign and deliberately to be able to perform a finishing blow against Israel. So we will see and wait, and we'll see if Iran has these weapons, if they have the ability to launch them, if they're keeping them for a different stage of this war. And in the meantime, let's continue to pray for the IDF, continue to bring you the truth about what is happening here in Israel. If you guys have been praying for us for the incoming missiles now, so thank you so much, because we so far did not receive a siren's alarm to go to the bomb shelter. So hopefully the missiles that were on their way were intercepted outside of the Israeli territory. That's really great for us. And guys, if you like these videos and you like to stay updated with what TBN Israel, Yair Pinto, and Mati Shoshani are doing here, please help us. In order to help us, you can either hit the donate button on YouTube, and you can also go to tbnisrael.com/give. Okay, every dollar you give will help us create more videos like this one. So guys, subscribe to this channel, that helps us the most. Share the truth and pray. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Okay, now I want to share with you what has been hit in Israel. It's important for you to know and to understand that the Iranian missiles, they are missiles with frightening capabilities and frightening warheads, a lot stronger than what Hamas has been fired at us and what Hezbollah has been launching at us as well. The missile fire at Israel was apparently aimed at a number of Israelis' strategic sites, and after last night's fires into the country, the Home Front Command forces operated at all the sites that were hit by this fire. So the Rescue Brigade forces and the National Rescue Unit and Reserve Rescue Forces from the center of Israel, the Dan region, the northern part of Israel, Jerusalem, and central districts all arrived at the impact zones across the country with the aim of assisting in rescue and evacuation at significant destruction sites in the town of Tamra, in the city of Rehovot, and in the city of Bat Yam. In Rehovot, a missile hit an open area between residential buildings and caused a structure to collapse. And after a prolonged effort by the rescue forces, a civilian was successfully rescued alive from the rubble. The missile struck not far from the Weizmann Institute in Rehovot, and the explosion caused damage to institute buildings, though they did not collapse and did not burn. And in Bat Yam, an Israeli city, extensive damage was caused to many buildings following a missile hit. And the current estimate is that at least a whole day will be needed to completely rescue the evacuation and complete the evacuation operations. The Home Front Command Forces continue to operate in that area, and they carry out searches for trapped persons and compile a list of those unaccounted for. At present, 7 persons are reported missing, and the Homefront Command notes that this is a very old building with no protected rooms in the apartments, which is a factor that harms the building's survivability, especially in front of a missile that Iran fires. And in the city of Tamra, during the night, a missile launched from Iran as part of a salvo towards the north scored a direct hit on a residential house, and as a result of that hit, there are several dead and injured, and great and significant damage was done to the property and to additional buildings in that area. So, the Home Front Command forces, together with other security bodies, rushed to the scene and carried out searches and rescued civilians from that place. And at the same time, the Saturday night strikes also included missile hits in areas geographically close to military installations, including various headquarters. And yesterday, a senior IDF official said that Israel had prepared in advance for severe scenarios, and amongst other things, the Air Force tripled its takeoff and its landing runways. This is for fear of attempts to damage aviation infrastructure that could disrupt the Air Force's operational continuity in launching strikes against Iran. So the IDF is doing its utmost to succeed in reducing the damage, and the defense systems are working non-stop. So we must listen to the instructions and also pray for this situation. So, Mati, what do you say? How does the time in protected spaces affected you, especially now that you're in the IDF?
Sorry, I was on mute. Uh, I haven't spent much time in protective spaces protective space, by the way. I think most of us around this area haven't. Once today I actually did because I was by chance near a place that had it. Um, but it's interesting. I think a lot of Israelis have become so accustomed to like taking fire in rockets that they don't even respond. And I've noticed this even with my kids in in recent months, where they almost complain that I'll drag them to the bomb shelter. Oh, they're firing a rocket again. Must we go to the protected space? But look, it's left a mark on Israeli society. We live in a country, the last couple of days, it's been a light show, the likes of which I've never seen in my entire life. Looking up into the sky, seeing 50, ballistic missiles traveling through the sky at the same time. And then interceptors flying the opposite direction, explosions in space, then explosions, closer to the ground, then explosions on the ground. It's been a dramatic couple days. And a lot of Israelis, my kids included, your kids included, have spent a lot of time in bomb shelters. School's been off. And people understand this is a sacrifice that needs to be made to end this phase of the conflict, to end this story and the saga of the Iranians pushing for a bomb. We know that we need to take fire from them. Again, they're a legit country, as far as military capability goes, and they've
Mm-hmm.
spent a huge amount of money prepping for this moment. And here we are, and we're at this moment. We've gained the upper hand, dramatically so. We've been far more victorious, far more effective, far more lethal in our attacks on them. We've brought them down on a PR level. They've been truly humiliated by the Israeli Air Force and Israeli intelligence. And yes, we've also suffered, but to a much lesser degree. And again, suffering isn't the metric here. What we're trying to do is bring down a dictatorial and evil and a radical regime in Iran who's been threatening to kill us in our way of life for decades. But yes, it's been, there's a price to pay. And I
Yeah.
think if people are asking themselves how they can pray for the people of Israel, They always think about the men and women in uniform. Let's say no, we can come second. First, pray for our kids, pray for our families, pray for the hearts and the minds and the souls of the people in Israel that have labored and and hurt. And I have to be honest, it's a lot easier being out in the field than sitting in a bomb shelter, because you're passive in the bomb shelter. Here out in the field, at least you're active, you're doing something. Even yourself, Yael, right now, it's more fun or more in motion, I guess, to be out and reporting and doing something versus in the bomb shelter with the kids. So I think that's really something people need to bear in mind.
Yeah, what I do sometimes is I take the reporting into the bomb shelter with the kids, which is also a little bit hard, especially when the babies are crying and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Maybe the
Also,
babies don't want to be on camera, yeah, maybe that's what it is.
no, he's not on camera. Oh, well, sometimes it's.
I'm joking.
No, but definitely, Mati. And this situation, you said that it's very hard on the people of Israel, and it's true. Imagine people had weddings planned for this week, and now all of it is canceled. People had
Yes.
vacation plans, they're canceled. No planes are in Israel. All the planes, except for the Israeli Air Force planes, went to Cyprus to be protected from strikes on our planes from Iran.
Yeah.
So life here is very, very dynamic, and it's very hard to plan something more than a few days in advance. I mean, my kids are not going to school. Your kids are not going to school. This morning, they were back to studying like in the days of the Corona
Yeah,
on Zoom.
back to Zoom,
Yeah, back to
which they
Zoom, which
absolutely
doesn't
hate.
really
Yeah.
do, and which doesn't help at all. It's like
Yeah.
30 first graders talking to the teacher on Zoom, like for an hour, trying
Yeah.
to do like a lesson or something. It just doesn't work. And this is the situation. So we are paying a very heavy price. But, Mati, the alternative of this situation is just unimaginable. Imagine our arch enemy, this country that doesn't just state out loud that they want to destroy Israel and the Jewish people
Yeah.
and burning flags of Israel and the United States of America, they also invest money in training our enemies to attack us. And I'm talking about Hamas, I'm talking about Hezbollah, I'm talking about the Houthis in Yemen. And imagine the day that they will have the world's most dangerous weapon ever. And I'm talking about not one nuclear bomb. We were at a stage of Iran having 15 nuclear bombs within a few weeks. I don't think we
Yes.
could have waited any longer to carry this strike. This is an existential decision, and we had to strike Iran now before they had these nuclear bombs, because even one of these bombs had the
Yeah.
capability of sowing damage like the Hiroshima nuclear bomb that was dropped in World
No,
War
far
II.
far far greater. Yeah. Bombs are
They
nuclear
they
bombs
evolved
nowadays
they
are a lot
evolved
stronger.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
So
considerably stronger. So, and it's interesting you say that because what was it yesterday? Prime Minister Netanyahu gave a whole, speech on the fact that this attack should have actually happened about 2.5 months ago. It was planned for, I want to say, mid or early April, and he didn't specify why, but he essentially alluded to the fact that there were reasons that prevented Israel from attacking back then, and that was the opportune time. I've watched and listened to a bunch of analysis about the timing of this, and essentially, like in military operations, especially large-scale bombings and invasions and stuff like that, you try to do things based off the ambient lighting. You do it when the moon is weakest. We did it in a full moon. There was a clock ticking that had a nuclear bomb connected to it. And the Israeli government said, look, whatever's coming, whatever the response is, whatever difficulty we have, now is the last time to do this without paying a much higher price. Let's do it. The U.S. is
exactly.
with us, without us, it doesn't matter. We're doing it, and that's where we are. And I want to tell you, I can almost guarantee that we weren't expecting to be so successful. I don't think anyone could have said we're going to run multiple days of bombing missions, hundreds of planes a day. Hundred. It's unbelievable the numbers
Listen, Mati,
when you
we
tell.
have air superiority and freedom of aerial movement above
Yeah.
the skies of half of Iran at this moment. It's like unheard
It's
of.
unbelievable.
This is a huge country.
Unbelievable.
And imagine just traveling all the way there and coming back and then fueling our planes in the air. Like a fueling airplane is basically like a truck filled with oil that is flying. That's like the most vulnerable thing that you can put in the air. And that's what we have above the skies of Iran. This is how weak their anti-aerial defensive system is. And I think that that's the most amazing part of this situation. And this paved the way for a potential intervention of the B-2 and the B-52 bombers of the United States that are now sitting at the Diego Garcia Island, which is also about 2,000 kilometers away from Iran. So these bombers can carry massive destruction, but they're not very fast,
Yes.
and they don't have a defensive capability. So they are coming into the battle
they're not supposed to
after
go
the
first,
aerial
though.
defensive. Yeah, exactly. After the aerial defensives were destroyed. So this is the stage. This is the position that we are at in this war. So if America wants to come in, they can come with or they can just borrow us these bombers, and then we can complete the job of destroying the nuclear facilities faster.
Well, you remember, Yael, just what was it, 2 months ago? There were reports that came out that Israeli pilots were practicing on board American bombers, not to fly them,
True.
but to run joint bombing missions, probably to combine intelligence and assets. So look, we're clearly working very, very closely with the U.S. Again, they haven't actively intervened in this war in a way that we're aware of. I remember, what was it, 2 months, a month and a half ago, I got to visit one of the bunkers housing one of the F-16. I believe it's an F-16E, one of the long range versions of the F-16, with one of the pilots who'd previously flown missions over Iran, over Yemen, and stuff like that. And you look at these aircraft, and in my head, I was asking, several members of our team were there. I was like, how does this aircraft do what it's reportedly doing? Like, how does this? They're not that big. How does it travel so far, and it carries so much weaponry? It's just amazing. It's a flying rocket, essentially. And you see what the
Wow.
Israeli pilots are able to do with it. They're flying to such extreme distances on something that, I don't think anyone, when they designed those planes, an F-16 and F-15E, thought they were going to be running bombing missions at a target that is 2,000 kilometers away, multiple days in a row. It's just like really pushing the envelope on what these aircraft are able to do.
Yeah, definitely, Mati. Well, I think it's getting late here, Mati, and I
Yeah,
wanted to say
absolutely.
thank you
1
to all
a.m. It's
the
about time to go to
viewers.
bed.
Exactly. I wanted to say thank you to all the viewers who are caring about what is happening in Israel. If you want to help us really reach more people, just hit the subscribe button on this YouTube. And also, if you want to help us create more videos like this one, visit www.tbnisrael.com/give. And you can also hit the donate button here on this channel. Thank you so much for praying for the situation. Mati, do you have any prayer request?
Yeah, like I said, obviously pray for my safety, my soldiers' safety. That's obviously high on the list, but also specifically my family, the families of my soldiers, families of the countless other soldiers that are out there. Safeguard their hearts, their bodies, and protect the people of Israel from, the flying evil that is the Iranian missiles. And
Yeah,
let's hope that this night is a quiet night, and that if there is an attack, that it is completely prevented by Israeli air defenses.
definitely, Mati. Yeah, that's exactly what we should pray for. Let's pray for the people of Israel. Let's pray also for the people of Iran. I mean, Israel is not at war against the people of Iran. And I want to emphasize that Israel is at war with the Ayatollah regime, with the Islamic Republic of Iran, with the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, which are all terrorist organizations that have hijacked this country. We love the Iranian people, and we want to have peace with the Iranian people. And I think that this is an opportunity for them to rise up against the regime that they have. And let's pray that, it will happen in the most peaceful way possible. And let's pray for the peace of Jerusalem in the situation. Guys, I wanted to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for praying for Israel. Thank you for standing for the truth. And we'll see you again next time. Keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem.